This briefing focuses on Vietnam. The goal of this presentation is to inform you on the various aspects of that country in preparation for your upcoming investment decision. There are many aspects of a country that may be relevant to potential investment decisions, and the various languages of a country is the first of such issues. Similarities and differences in languages can have a substantial impact on a firm's ability to communicate with local customers, suppliers, and even employees. As most people in Brazil would be aware, the dominant language in Vietnam is Vietnamese, formerly known under French colonialism as Annamese. This language is one of several in a family of languages known as Austroasiatic, although its vocabulary borrows heavily from Chinese, especially words that denote abstract ideas. Indeed, in contrast to Portuguese, it will be difficult to find two languages further apart than Portuguese and Vietnamese. A second issue which can influence a firm's ability to conduct business in a foreign country is the dominant religion. Religion has a potentially powerful impact on people's value systems and can influence how they behave and interact with one another. In contrast to Brazil, between 50 and 80% of the Vietnamese population claims an affiliation to Mahayana Buddhism, leaving Christianity as a minority religion at 8% of the population. Moreover, there is a deep-seated suspicion of Roman Catholicism within Vietnam, and the Vatican Church is still officially banned. These hostilities relate back to the French colonial period and the Roman Catholic Church's strong opposition to communism. A third factor which may influence a company's ability to conduct business in a foreign country is the level of industrial development. This not only influences the cost of labor in a country and the consumption patterns, but it also arguably shapes the attitudes, values, and behaviors of the population in general. Despite some obvious similarities, there are also substantial differences between Brazil and Vietnam in terms of the level of economic and industrial development. Most notably among these differences are Brazil's higher GDP per capita, more than triple, and the level of ownership of consumer items such as motor vehicles, televisions, and telephones. Brazil is also a substantially more urban country, with 79% of the population living in urban areas versus 18% for Vietnam. A fourth important issue is the similarities and/or differences in the educational systems of countries. Vietnam has put extreme emphasis on education in the last few years and is making huge investments. Even though Vietnam is a developing country, its literacy rate at 92% is higher than Brazil's. Education is free and compulsory at primary schools from age 6 to 11. After grade 6, parents have to pay for school. In contrast, Brazil offers free public schools up to the 12th grade. Vietnam also has much longer school hours, with children attending from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. A fifth critical issue with respect to doing business in another country is similarities and/or differences in the legal and political systems. Vietnam is a law-governed socialist state under the leadership of the Communist Party. The Communist Party-controlled government of Vietnam is ruled under a state constitution to provide the communist regime with a democratic appearance. There is a strengthened executive branch and a weakened National Assembly, with over 500 deputies that only meet twice a year. While some reforms have happened, the country is still fundamentally undemocratic. A sixth but potentially more subtle issue is similarities and/or differences in actual business practices. This can involve simple but potentially embarrassing issues such as how to properly greet people and attitudes towards time. There are many differences between Vietnamese and Brazilian business practices. For example, there are differences in terms of dress. In Vietnam business culture, conservative suits and ties and subdued colors are the norm. Women should wear conservative suits or dresses. There are also differences in communication styles. Vietnamese business people are indirect in their communication, and much more meaning is passed through body language instead of words. Vietnamese will avoid using no in answering questions. They will tend to say maybe, or that would be difficult, or even yes or no problem, even if the answer is really no. Vietnamese also dislike being touched by strangers, and have a more subdued mode of communication. The seventh and final issue is the broader set of cultural values which are commonly shared by a large portion of a country's population. Countries can vary in terms of the emphasis placed on individuality versus conformity, the attitudes towards uncertainty and ambiguity, the attitudes towards authority and social inequities, and not least, attitudes towards how gender roles are allocated in society. Brazil and Vietnam are very different cultures. Brazilians are less liberal in terms of gender roles, as they are more masculine than Vietnamese. There is also a large difference in terms of the comfort with ambiguity. Vietnamese tend to be far more at ease when faced with uncertainty than Brazilians are. Vietnamese are also typically more focused on the group, while Brazilians are more focused on the individual. This concludes our brief presentation on Vietnam.